Continuing on with our integers discussion, today we're going to talk about adding integers. And that can be as simple, remember an integer is just a positive or negative whole number. So that could be as simple as 5 plus 6. They're both positive numbers. 5 plus 6 is going to be 11. Okay? Now we're going to get into what happens if we're adding two negative numbers together. So I want us to think here and put this into a real world situation. So if it's negative 1 degrees out, but the temperature, remember I'm adding, but it's still going to be going down negative 5. So if we think about that, negative 1 plus negative 5 is going to end up being, it's going to be a total of negative 6 degrees outside. Okay? Negative 3 plus negative 4. If you owe someone $3 and then maybe you lose money in the class store type situation, you're losing 4 more, that's going to be negative 3 plus negative 4, that's going to be negative 7. Okay. Next one, also involving two negatives. Negative 6 plus negative 14. Hopefully you're noticing a pattern here. Negative 6 plus negative 14 is going to end up being negative 20. So I want you to stop and think for a second of what is a generalization or maybe similar to a rule that we could come up with for when I'm adding integers together that have the same sign. So if I'm taking a positive number plus a positive number, what am I going to get? You should get a positive number. If I'm taking a negative number plus a negative number, what should I get? You should get a negative number. So maybe you want to write that down somewhere, that if we are going to add two positives together, I'm going to end up with a positive number. But if I'm going to add two negatives, I'm going to just add them together and the sign is going to be negative. Now that's not the only type of integers that we're going to add together, but we want to keep in mind these generalizations as we move forward. And we don't want to solely rely on these rules because some of them you're going to see as we continue on with integers, they might be opposites of those or might confuse us a little bit. So we do want to make sure that we understand why that is what we're doing. So moving on to the next set. Now I'm dealing with one positive and one negative number. And we're going to notice some things, but it's not going to be as clear cut as that last rule was. So if I have 6 plus negative 3, we can think about this in the real world, such as our temperature example, where it's 6 degrees outside and the temperature is going to drop because it's negative 3 degrees. So if we think about that, 6 degrees outside, the temperature is going to drop 3 degrees. I know that then the temperature is going to be 3 degrees. Another way we can think about this is that we think about two different countries or people that are going to war. They're going head to head against each other, right? And here we have a positive going up against a negative. Who typically wins in battles? It might be the strongest person, it might be people who have the most people, could be the better strategy, those sorts of things. So how we're going to look at it this way is the number that has the largest absolute value is going to win this battle, is going to win this war. Remember, absolute value is going to be the distance away from 0. So if we think about that, the absolute value of 6 is going to be 6. The absolute value of negative 3 is going to be 3. So how do I know which one's going to win? Well, 6 is obviously bigger than 3, so I know that because the absolute value here is bigger, that my answer has to be a positive number. And we're going to do some more of those, so if that confuses you, don't worry, we're going to continue on. If we look at the next one, 1 plus negative 4. What is the absolute value of 1? 1. What's the absolute value of negative 4? Well, that's 4. Do you see how 4 is bigger? And since it matches up with our negative number, I know that my answer has to be negative. That's a quick and easy way that you can check as well when you're going back through. Just quickly look to see that you have the signs right. If you had a sign wrong, that needs to tell your brain, oh, I need to go back and look at something to fix. So 1 plus negative 4. Okay, it's 1 degree out. The temperature drops 4 degrees. Oh, now it's going to be negative 3 degrees out. Let's do a couple more of these. 4 plus negative 8. If we're thinking about going to war, who's going to win in this one? That negative number is going to win. So 4 degrees out, the temperature drops 8 degrees. It's going to be negative 4 degrees. One more there. Negative 7 plus 5. This time, think about it's negative 7 degrees out. The temperature is going to go up 5 degrees. Who's going to win out? Who's going to win that battle? Okay, that negative number. Negative 7 degrees increases 5. It's going to be 2. You may have also seen that when they do have those opposite signs, all I'm really doing is subtracting the numbers. And then I'm just keeping the sign for whoever's winning that battle, whoever has the higher absolute value. So if you look back above, we were really just taking 8 minus 4. We were really taking 7 minus 5. And we're just attaching, oh, I forgot my negative sign here. We're just attaching the sign based on who has that greater absolute value. Now there's one more type of adding. And that's when you are adding more than 2 integers together. So for this first one, we have negative 6 plus negative 15 plus 6. So if we're following order of operations, it's all adding, so I'm just going to work left to right. So negative 6 plus negative 15, we already talked about that. If they're both negative, I'm just going to add them together and attach my negative sign. So negative 6 plus negative 15 is going to give me negative 21 plus 6. Okay, now I have a negative plus a positive. Who is going to win that battle? The negative. So I know my answer is going to be negative. I can just subtract those two to get negative 15 as my answer. Next one, now I have 4 integers I'm going to be adding together. 7 plus negative 1 plus 26 plus negative 13. So again, let's work left to right. 7 plus negative 1, that's going to give me 6 plus 26 plus negative 13. Sometimes we have those parentheses there just to separate to show you that it's a negative number. Doesn't mean multiplication or anything unless it's touching another number. And here they're not touching, it has that plus sign in between. So 6 plus 26 is going to give me 32 plus negative 13. That is going to give you what? Who's going to win that battle, the positive or the negative number? Should be the positive. Going to end up subtracting those to get 19. That was my answer. All right, this next part is going to be the you try section. So I'm going to ask that you pause the video here. You work through those next few examples in your math notebook. Then push play again, and you can double check that what you were doing was correct. Please press pause now. All right, let's check and see how you are doing with these. So negative 5 plus negative 6. 2 negatives, adding them together, still going to be a negative, and it's going to be negative 11. Hopefully you got that one. 14 plus negative 5. Positive plus a negative. We're going to go to war here. That positive number is going to win the battle. And I'm going to be left with a positive 9. Last few examples there. Negative 18 plus 11. That negative number is going to win out that battle. That's going to give me negative 7. 16 plus negative 13. Positive number is going to win out that battle by how many? By 3. Now we have 3 integers, 11 plus negative 2 plus negative 10. Okay, 11 plus negative 2, that's going to give me 9 plus negative 10. I'm going to be left with negative 1 when it's all said and done. 9 degrees out, the temperature drops 10. Last one there. Negative 5 plus 4 plus negative 5 plus 3. All right, negative 5 plus 4, that's going to give me negative 1, plus negative 5 plus 3. Negative 1 plus negative 5, that's going to be negative 6 plus 3, which should give me, winning out the battle, a negative 3. All right, you can go ahead and move to your practice and extension work. And when you're done, then we can come back and learn about subtracting fractions.